All right, what's up guys? VV back with another video. And in today's video, you see what we got going on in the background here. That's right, it's time for another tier list, okay? So without any further ado, we're gonna get right into today's video. I will have everything time-stamped in the general description, and I'll have all relevant links and stuff like that in the comment section below. If you guys have any comments, questions, or suggestions, please do not hesitate to put those down in the comment section below, or hop on the VV Theory Discord. Link will be in the channel description. Today's video is brought to you by Nin Garden. To celebrate their 1-year anniversary, they're thanking the fans with a huge sale. Pre-orders are now open for the King of Hearts and Cotton Candy playmats, available while supplies last. And you can use my code, the VV Theory, at the checkout for an extra 5% off on your next order. All right, guys, let's go ahead and get into this tier list. Now, let me lay it out for you so you know what's going on over here. Notice I'm gonna try to do things a little bit differently this time. At the very top, of course, is going to be the most competitive, and at the bottom is going to be least competitive. We have about 110 leaders to go over, guys, so I'm going to kind of blast through them as quickly as possible. All right? That's the first thing. Second thing is a lot of this is going to be predictions, guys, because we don't know exactly what's going to happen just yet in the West because of the bans that are going to be in place. And in the East, we will cover the East at the end of the video, but in the East, it's going to be a whole new meta over there as well, I'm sure, with all those new leaders. Okay, so now that we got that out of the way, one more thing I want to say is if I mess something up, be nice, guys. Tell me down in the comment section below. If you think a leader should be higher or lower or whatever, please say so in the comment section below. I just ask that you please be respectful. That's all I ask. All right, let's do this, guys. Let's get into it. Okay, I'm just going to go directly in order here. Notice how things are. There's one more thing I have to mention, too. For the most competitive, I'm going to try to keep something up there from every color this time, where basically we have the most competitive from every color. Now, some colors might have multiple decks in the most competitive category, but I'm going to try to make it where we at least have one of every color in the most competitive category for the people who are trying to play maybe a certain color or something like that. Okay, so hopefully that makes sense. Now, here we go, guys. We're going to go right in order. I'm going to try to go through this pretty quickly, and then once everything's mapped out, we'll talk about it more from there. Okay, so first up we have Odin. This is probably going down the least competitive category. I'll probably put it right above least competitive because ever since they got the new Kinemon shenanigans, like moving and, there's a lot of ways to manipulate Dawn now with green. So maybe it's in a slightly above the least competitive category, but still not super competitive, I don't think. Green Purple Luffy, basically the most competitive purple deck, if that's what you want to consider it. That's just kind of what Green Purple Luffy is right now. It has green in there as well, but it's mainly a purple deck. Okay. Blue Purple Croc, probably in the least competitive category, right next to, I always get this backwards, guys, King. Now, then we get to Edward Newgate. This leader just kind of sticks around, and with the right pilot, it can just do things. It can be built in a very aggressive way when needed, or it can be built in a very tanky way when needed, depending on what's in the format. I think I'm going to have it right under the most competitive, but at the same time, it will probably be at the lower end of the tier under most competitive. Red Green Trafalgar Law, I think, is somewhere in the middle now. With the right pilot, I'm sure you can push it. You can push these, decks up a tier. But all things considered, in general, I think Red Green Law is somewhere in the middle, and maybe even lower than that. Now that we're starting to see Blue Black Sakazuki, jumping back into the meta, we'll have to see. Hody Jones, I'm going to have this a step above least competitive. Red Purple Uda, same exact thing there. We might also move things around as we're going through this. Once I see where everything is stacked, I might make some adjustments on the fly, okay? Calgara. Calgara is extremely good right now in yellow. I would have it just a smidge under most competitive, especially for yellow decks. Carrot, I'm going to have that probably towards the later, the lower end of middle of the pack. Red Green Luffy, I'm going to have that down here, especially once we get to OP13. There's going to be a new Red Green Luffy in town, and it'll probably just take the place of this leader anyway. Green Purple Limbs, somewhere in the middle of the pack. Blue Purple Kaido, down here in the least competitive. It just doesn't really have enough going on for it right now. Red Green Smoker, Again, might make some revisions, but I'm going to put that just a step under the most competitive, but we'll have to see what happens, guys, because we haven't gotten to blue-purple Luffy yet, but I think red-green smokers matchups, or red-green smokers success will largely depend on what's doing the best in the format. Okay, Smoker, I think he goes up here right next to red-green Smoker. Nothing's quite in order yet, guys. Y'all bear with me. Let me get through the whole list, and then I'll move things around from there. Kuro, down here in the least competitive, right next to Magellan. Arlong is somewhere in the middle of the pack. With the right pilot, you probably could be in just a step under most competitive, but I do think Arlong presents a lot of headaches to the decks that are trying to set up, and I haven't done enough testing just yet, but I would not be surprised if Arlong might have a decent matchup into something like Emu going into into OP13, because it's just become so aggressive. Will they have enough time to deal with it? They might. I don't know, guys. Like I said, I haven't tested it yet, but it's a very aggressive deck. It could be okay. Okay, Purple Iceberg. This is definitely in more of the janky category right now. I don't think it quite has enough. Even in OP13, when it gets access to the new Roger that can allow it to attack for the turn, and you have the stage to offset the -3 Dawn, who knows, maybe it will be stronger. I'm going to keep it just above least competitive for now, and who knows, maybe someone can figure it out. This Lucci, I don't know why you'd play this over the standard, over, what is it, OP07 Lucci. Katakuri, I think, is somewhere in the middle of the pack. I feel like, I don't want to say it's fallen off because it really hasn't changed much, but that's really the main thing, is it hasn't really gotten any direct support in a while. In the right pilot's hands, it might be a tier above this, but other than that, it's just kind of chilling in the middle somewhere. Ace, I just don't see it, guys. I know there's a lot of diehard red Ace fans out there. Excuse me. In OP13, I'll try to keep this towards the front of this tier here, because I might move it up. We'll see. As OP13 comes out, maybe it will get a little bit better. But I feel like most of the support we saw from OP13 for Whitebeard Pirates was actually blue. So again, I'm not really sold on Red Ace these days, guys. Hannibal, I think it's down here at least competitive. Black Yellow Linlin, just a step above the least competitive. It just really doesn't do anything. It just hasn't gotten any extra support. That's the way I should say it. Black Yellow Kairos, least competitive. It's not doing anything. Nami, let's leave it on the tier list for now because it's basically getting banned, right? This version of Nami will be banned very soon, and there will be a new Nami to take the place of this one, and maybe I'll put this one in the place of where I think the new one will land. Okay, but let's save that until we get to the end. Purple Luffy, I think, is just a step under most competitive. I think the deck still is very good, and in the right pilot's hands, it probably will feel like you're going against a deck that's most competitive in the format. Green-Blue Rosinante, somewhere in the middle of the pack. I know some people are saying that this deck has a very strong matchup into Green Zoro, which I don't doubt, but I don't think Green Zoro is just going to take over the meta over here in the West. Some people think it might. I don't think it will. We'll have to see. Let me say it like this, though. The more Green Zoro representation we see, the better Rosinante becomes. But other than that one matchup, I see Rosinante somewhere in the middle of the pack. Okay, Green-Black Perona, I think, is still, even when it gets the new Gecko from from PRB02, I just don't think, I don't think Perona has it right now, guys. I'm sorry, it is what it is. But on the other hand, now we get to Gecko Moria, and I think Gecko Moria is probably just under most competitive, especially once we get to PRB02. So I'm going to put that in this orange category here. Blue-Purple Reiju is starting to, I don't want to say it's falling off, but hear me out, guys. One thing that made Blue-Purple Reiju so strong is like the current power level of the game was at a certain point, and I feel like going into OP13, it won't be at that point anymore. So I'm going to put this at the tail end of just under most competitive, but probably closer to the top end of middle of the pack, and a good pilot can push it into a more competitive category. Hopefully that made sense, guys. That was the nicest way I could do that one. Okay, Zoro I still think is fine, but I don't think it is. I don't think Zoro is the most competitive red deck anymore. We'll get to that when we get to it, but I think there's an even more competitive red deck in town now. We'll have to see. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comments section below. Purple Yellow Pudding, it's got to be somewhere in the middle category here. You know, I know a lot of people are trying to make this deck work. I get it. It's a very cool, it's a very cool leader, but at the same time, I'll put it towards the top end of this middle of the pack here, but I think it's starting to fall off a little bit. Red-Green Chopper, I'm going to put this all the way down one step above least competitive. Purple-Black Luffy at the tail end of, the orange tier. Purple-Black King way down here towards the bottom near least competitive. Red-Blue Marco, I think, is somewhere competitive. I don't think It's not most competitive, but it's definitely somewhere in that category under the top tier decks, if that makes sense. Blackbeard. I think this deck is way up here. We'll have to see what happens. If Blue-Black Sakazuki or something like that starts really popping off, then maybe Blackbeard will see more representation, turning off a bunch of on-play effects. But other than that, it does kind of stick around as just a top-tier black deck. But I think there's going to be a better deck from black to put into the most competitive category, and we'll get we'll talk about that when we get to it. Blue Doflamingo, I'm going to put this at the very top of middle of the pack. I feel like if they would just unlock Jinbei, then I feel like this could be maybe one of the best blue decks in the format. But who knows? We'll have to see. Blue Doflamingo is another deck that I think could give Emu problems once we get to OP13. Okay, so we'll have to see what happens there. I do think it can give some problems, though, to the decks that are trying to set up later. You can make a blind fire 100% hit rate with Blue Doflamingo. You can make a deck that does that. And in PRB02, we get the new Jinbei that's going to help with that, that style even more. And if we could just get the 4-cost Jinbei back, the deck could be a real nuisance. I know some people are like, no, that's okay. We can keep the Jinbei gone. I understand. Nico Robin, I'm also going to put at the very top of somewhere here in the middle of the pack. I don't think it can quite hang out with the big dogs right above Nico Robin right now, but who knows? We'll have to see what happens. Maybe someone just needs to figure out the list. Okay, Caesar Clown, I'm going to put right above least competitive. Red Black Garp, same spot. Again, nothing's in any particular order just yet, guys. Let me get everything on here first before we start arranging stuff. Ivankov, least competitive. Kinemon, I'm going to put him right next to Odin. They're kind of in the same ballpark of like, yeah, maybe in the right hands they could do something, but it's I feel like it's starting to fall off in power level. Purple Black Zephyr just never really did it, or Z, whichever he goes by. Then we have Green Blue's Sanji, not Zanji, but Green Blue Sanji, least competitive. Enel might now be the most competitive yellow deck. We'll talk about that more in a minute. It's probably a tie between Enel and Eustace Kid. And you guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. But I've been seeing Enel pop up quite a bit lately. Okay? Green Black Isho, probably somewhere here in the middle of the pack. I'm going to have to shrink my camera down, guys. Hang on. Let me shrink my camera down a little bit. Y'all don't need to see my big head anyway. There we go. Okay, so Green Black Isho, somewhere in the middle of the pack here, probably next to Lim, but honestly, guys, it might be closer to this yellow tier if I'm being honest with you guys. I think Green Black Isho might be somewhere just under middle of the pack, but we'll put him towards the top of it. Okay, Blue Black Rebecca, I'm going to put it right next to Garb. I just don't see it right now. Now, Purple Yellow Crocodile, I'm going to put at the tail end of middle of the pack because I think Crocodile can actually do things right now. I'm not saying he can win some major regional, but I think especially at like a local level, guys, any deck you see on this on here has probably won at a local level at some point. But hear me out. Purple Yellow Crocodile, anything in this middle and above, they're probably going to be able to win locals whenever they want to with the right pilot and a right understanding of the format. Green Yellow Yamato, going to put her up here next to Doflamingo, just a shade under the power level of the decks above her, in my personal opinion. Green Purple Doflamingo, I'm going to put this right next to the Purple Yellow Crocodile because, guys, if Rayleigh starts popping off, we haven't got to Rayleigh yet, but if Rayleigh starts popping off over here in the West, Green Purple Doflamingo might be able to mess things up there, right? We'll have to see. Okay, Red Yellow Bello Betty, I do think it's at the tail end of the just under most competitive. I think it's still a very strong deck. Blue Yellow Queen has fallen off quite a bit. I'll put it in this yellow category here. Now, this is the... Yeah, okay, 4 life. So this is the old Red-Black Sabo leader. I'm going to put him towards the top end of the yellow category, the yellow tier. It's not quite there, right? Once we get to OP13, that one will be. But this Red-Black Sabo, not quite there anymore if it ever was. I think you could maybe get away with putting at the end of middle of the pack here, but I think it really should be in the yellow tier, just above least competitive. Okay, then we get to Lucci. This is going up to in the most competitive category, I think, especially if you're trying to play a black deck. If you're trying to play any deck within the color black, I think your go-to is going to be Lucci. Okay, then we get to Green Jory Bonnie. This is going up to the very top, and that's going to be right next to Zoro, because I actually think Green Zoro and Green Jory Bonnie are just going to be a matter of preference. If you're trying to play green in the most competitive way, well, if you're more of a control player, you're just going to go with Bonnie, and if you're a little bit more mid-range to aggro, you'll go with Green Zoro. Okay, Dragon is unfortunately way down here in the yellow tier, just above least competitive. Buggy might be the most competitive blue deck. We'll talk about that more in a minute. I'm going to put him towards the very top of the orange tier here under most competitive. Shanks. I think Shanks pops up in here into the most competitive category. We'll talk about Rayleigh as well when we get to that. Eustace Kid. I'm going to put him up here in the most competitive. I'm going to put him next to Enel. And again, like I said, once I get all this on here, guys, we'll really break it down. Red Green Odin, I'm going to put somewhere in the middle of the pack here. He's not quite fallen off completely, but he's not quite there yet either. Nefeltari Vivi, I'm going to put just above least competitive. Then we have Foxy. I think this is actually somewhere in the middle of the pack. Guys, Foxy can lock down Zoro. Now, yes, they can restand Zoro with their event, but then that's 3 Dawn gone for the turn, and then when they swing again with Zoro, you're just going to lock it down again on the next turn. So I think purple Foxy is somewhere in the middle of the pack. Okay, then we get to Boa. I think Boa is probably right next to, maybe right above Doflamingo right now, and Boa is going to be getting some support in either PRB02 or OP13, I can't remember, and that should help Boa out quite a bit. Okay, then we get to Vegapunk. I think Vegapunk is probably at the tail end of, actually, I'll move Vegapunk once we get to OP13. I'll move him up a little bit. For now, he's in the middle of the pack, but he's actually, once he gets some support from OP13, he might move up into this orange tier here. Okay, Sakazuki. We finally get to talk about Sakazuki again. And hear me out, guys. I don't think he's bad, but I also don't think he's going to be completely busted or anything like that either. I think he's going to be very competitive, especially in the right hands. There's a lot of die-hard blue-black Sakazuki players out there. I'm going to put him at the top end of the tier just under most competitive. Why don't I have him in most competitive? Some people might say he should be in most competitive, and I wouldn't just completely disagree with that. But hear me out. We're in a different world now. There is no Gecko Moria. There is no Ice Age. And the power level of decks has gotten to such a point where blue-black Sakazuki is no longer as scary as he used to be. Okay? We'll talk more about that at the end. Green-yellow Trafalgar Law. Okay, I got to move him all the way up here. I'm going to put him right next to Sakazuki because I think he is in that conversation. Red-purple Sugar. I'm going to put that in the middle of the pack somewhere. Actually, I'm probably going to put Sugar down here in the yellow category, just above least competitive. Jinbei, I'm going to put at the top end of least competitive. Blue-black Usopp, probably somewhere in the middle of the pack. It's just a decent control deck now. It's not like what it used to be. Rayleigh. Okay, let me move Rayleigh up. Hang on, guys. Got to go all the way to the top here. I'm going to put Rayleigh next to Shanks because I think Rayleigh is the same idea that we were talking about with Green, Zoro, and Bonnie, I think will be the exact same idea with Shanks and Rayleigh. If you're trying to play a red deck right now and you want to be more aggressive, then Rayleigh's your guy. If you're trying to be a little more mid-range to controlling, Shanks is your guy. Okay? Blue-yellow Nami. Blue-yellow Nami needs to go in this orange tier here just above most competitive because it has a lot of potential. I know you shouldn't go off of potential alone. Of course, results are going to matter. But I do think that this leader is one of those decks that doesn't see a lot of representation. It's not even that it's just like failing or anything like that. Just not many people play blue-yellow Nami. Okay? And because of that, I think I still think it's a very, very strong deck. And it's pretty hard to deal with because it gets to 7,000 power very easily. So I'm going to have that at the bottom of orange here. But I could even see it being in the middle of the pack as well, like at the very top end of middle of the pack. But I'm leaving it orange for now. Okay, Purple Katakuri, he's like right at the very top, somewhere around the top of middle of the pack. Red-Black Kobe. Okay, I think this is probably at the tail end of on the more competitive side as well. Especially once we get to OP13 where we have to start dealing with Emu and characters that cannot be removed from the field by removal or by effects. Kobe might start really popping up. We'll have to see what happens there. Shirahoshi, I'm going to have on the lower side of the competitive tier list here. Blue-Purple Luffy. Okay, here we go, guys. We got to talk about Blue-Purple Luffy. I actually think, unpopular opinion, I don't think we've seen, all we're going to see from Blue-Purple Luffy. The deck has definitely taken a hit to power, and we're probably going to have to build it in a very different way now. But I think once people understand how Blue-Purple Luffy, how strong that leader is, that it wasn't just a few characters making it strong, I think Blue-Purple Luffy will actually still be doing just fine. I'm going to have him towards the upper end of this orange tier here, just a shade under the most competitive now. Now, because of that, we probably won't see a lot of Blue-Purple Luffy players because it's not the most competitive deck anymore. But I'll tell you guys right now, Luffy's effect is so powerful the leader. You know, blue-purple Luffy's leader effect is so powerful, and there's purple built into it where it can ramp. I think people are going to be able to find a way to make this leader still work. Who knows? They might not even try it, but I think the potential is definitely there. Okay, next up, oh, hang on. So now we have all of the OP13 leaders. We're going to come back to those, okay? Blue Crocodile, I think this is in the lower end of... out of all the old starter decks here, guys, I will say Blue Crocodile probably has the most potential of them. Not saying much, but he's down here, way down here in the least competitive category. Purple Shanks is in least competitive. Actually, you know, Blue Crocodile, one step above least competitive. Purple Shanks, actually in least competitive. This promo Luffy down here in least competitive. Red Purple Law is still banned. I'm going to put that up here next to Nami. Green Eustace Kid, I'll put it next to Crocodile. Purple Kaido, I'm going to put in least competitive. I know some people are saying that maybe it'll have some kind of chance against Emu. I don't know. You guys tell me what y'all think. Okay, I'll put in yellow after just saying that out loud. Maybe Burning Life will help it, and it's a 5-life leader. We'll keep it there. Red Purple Luffy. So this has kind of fallen off a bit. I could see Red Purple Luffy being in this orange tier or this yellow one, right? Just a step under most competitive, but maybe more middle of the pack. Because I think it will still fall, you know, victim to this whole blue-purple Luffy idea of if I'm going to run purple Straw Hats in any capacity and I want to be a 6,000 power leader, why wouldn't I run blue-purple over red-purple? So I'm going to drop him down here just because I think blue-purple Luffy might just be strictly a little bit stronger than red-purple Luffy. Okay, and then we get to Kuzan. Kuzan, he's got to be somewhere between a step under most competitive and middle of the pack. I'm going to put him more into the competitive side of it. I don't know. See, part of me wants to put him in the middle of the pack. I know there are some die-hard Kuzan fans, and hey, if you're a good enough pilot, I could see you pushing into the orange tier, but I don't see him in the most competitive tier, that's for sure. Purple Yellow Rosinante needs to be figured out, guys. I'm putting him in the least competitive category. Maybe he needs more support, or maybe he needs both. Whatever the case is, Purple Yellow Rosinante is not there yet. Guys, I'm actually going to make my camera a little bit bigger for now until we are fully done with this list. Blue Purple Sanji. Okay, let's move him up. I think Blue Purple Sanji is in the orange tier. I think it's a step under most competitive. This was a deck that it took everyone a little while to figure out, and then it started topping over in the East. And now it also doesn't have to deal with the Blue-Purple Luffy matchup. Not to say it was bad in the Blue-Purple Luffy, but that was a tough matchup for anyone. But it's a matter of like, okay, this probably, anyone who was trying to play Blue-Purple in a competitive, you know, sense, Blue-Purple Sanji might become the new go-to leader for that. I think it's a decent deck. And I do think people are still building it in the traditional way it's meant to be built with the 3-call Sanji and filling up your trash with events. I put out a video not too long ago, guys. I think Blue-Purple Sanji should be built in a more fortress tanky way and go into the late game. I'm a big fan of this leader. Okay, moving on from there, Green Zoro. All right, hang on, I got to go way up here to the top. Put that next to Bonnie. So we talked about Green Zoro a little bit. We'll talk about it more in a minute. This leader is very, very strong right now, up in the top tier for sure. Okay, now let's keep going. Like I said, we're going to come back to these. Don't worry, guys. Okay, ST01 Luffy. This is just the starter deck Luffy. It's really not all that anymore. Promo Law, almost unplayable. Red Sanji, I'm gonna put like in the middle of the pack. Hang on, where is it? I'm gonna put that in the middle of the pack because just like with most of the leaders in this game, guys, there's like a cult of zealots that follow each one of these leaders in particular. I don't understand it. I just play whatever. I play every deck, guys. I play every leader, every deck, whenever, whatever. But there are certain people who become diehard fans of specific leaders in this game. And for Red Sanji, they're out there, man. They're out there, and they love this leader. And they tell me like, no, man, you're wrong about PRB's. Was it PRB 01 Sanji? I think it is. Man, he's actually really, really good. I'm going to put him in the middle of the pack because I do see what people are saying. And who knows, maybe over time, Sanji will just get better and better because of the nature of his leader effect. Because he will get more support as time goes on without Bandai even trying to give Sanji support. It's just anytime they print a card that does not have an on-play effect, it will probably be decent enough to try in Sanji, no matter what typing it is. So I'm going to put that in the middle of the pack for now. Okay, next up we have Red Purple Eustace Kid. I just put out a video on this. I'm going to put it in the middle of the pack next to Red Purple Luffy. I think Red Purple Eustace Kid is still completely fine. I think the leader is actually better than people think. Okay, Green Uda. I'm going to put it in the middle of the pack about halfway through the middle of the pack. I'm going to keep this here because in OP13, Green Uda gets quite a bit of support. They might be moving into this tier right below most competitive. Okay, what's next? This Luffy, I think, has fallen off completely. This is, actually, is this ST14 Luffy? I get these two confused. These two Luffys here. I think the one on the right is ST14 Luffy. I can't remember by the pictures. Yeah, and I think this is like ST10 Luffy or something on the left. So ST14 Luffy, if that's what this one is, I'm going to put it a step above the other one. Guys, if I mix that up, just understand, the Luffy that can have its power increased by 1,000 if you have an 8 cost or higher on the field, that's the one I want in yellow, whereas down here in green for the least competitive, that's the one where if you KO a character, you get to attach it on for free. I think that one's down in the least competitive category. Promo Sakazuki, least competitive. Red Yellow Sabo. So I think Red Yellow Sabo is still very much in the middle of the pack somewhere. I don't know exactly where anymore. I have not been playing Red Yellow Sabo that much lately, guys. I've been so busy. I mean, look at all these leaders now. There are so many leaders in the game now, like 110 leaders. So I've got Red Yellow Sabo right in the middle of the pack. Next up is ST21 Luffy. I think this is a little bit better than Dragon and ST01 Luffy. I'm going to put it somewhere in the middle of the pack, maybe next to Sanji as a more aggressive option. Then we get to Rainbow Luffy. We obviously cannot play. That's for sealed events only. Black Yellow Koala. I'm going to put this one in the middle of the pack next to Kuzan. I think people are starting to figure out Black Yellow Koala. And at first, it's funny. The waves of emotions people go through with some of these leaders. At first, when people first saw Black Yellow Koala, they were like, dude, this leader effect is completely busted. It's broken, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, yeah, it does look pretty strong. Broken or busted, I always try to reserve my thoughts on that. I try not to just say something's broken or busted right away. I'd like to see how it does into the meta and what support it gets and so on and so forth. And with Black Yellow Koala, everyone thought it was broken at first, or super, super strong, too strong maybe. Then it got played early on, and it was almost... it felt impossible to play, but now people are starting to figure it out, and the meta is starting to shift a little bit. I could see Black Yellow Koala being somewhere in the middle of the pack next to Kuzan right now, and with enough support in the future, and maybe with enough, play testing and figuring out what's best in the deck, maybe it can work into the tier just above most competitive, but I don't think it's there just yet. Okay, next up we have Sakazuki. This is ST06 Black Sakazuki. That's going to go in. I'm actually going to put it above Blue Black Sakazuki to be fair, because I feel like it's definitely better than Blue Black promo Sakazuki, not the original, not the OG Blue Black Sakazuki, the promo one. So I'm going to put that in a step above least competitive. Red Uda is going in least competitive. Yellow Yamato least competitive. Then we get Yellow Linlin. I'm going to have a step under Katakuri, which I had in the middle tier here, I believe. Let me see. Where did I have Yellow Katakuri? Oh, okay. Yeah, I had it in the middle, so I'm going to have that just a step under that. Probably right above Black Yellow Linlin. I think it's just a little bit better than Black Yellow Linlin currently. Green Blue Zoro and Sanji, however, that is going all the way up here into the orange category, under a step under most competitive, because Green Blue Zoro and Sanji was actually able to get second place at a major tournament over in the West, or excuse me, over in the East in OP12. However, it should have got first place. So things are a little bit different now, but I think Green Blue Zoro and Sanji is really, really strong right now. Okay, runs more of a slash package for those who are not aware. Okay, Black Yellow Luffy, I'm going to put that in the middle of the pack for now, and then once PRB02 comes out, hopefully I remember, then I think it needs to go up to this orange tier right here. Okay, but not until PRB02 comes out. I think for now it's still just like in the middle of the pack somewhere. Okay, then we get to ST22, Ace and Newgate. I think this is probably going to be a step under middle of the pack, just a step above least competitive. And then we get Blue Yellow Ace, which I think is probably at the top end of middle of the pack. I'd put it at the top end of middle of the pack, and in the right pilot's hands, probably just a step under most competitive. Okay? And there are, I should say, guys, with all of these leaders, obviously there's going to be multiple ways you can build and play them. I'm trying to, when I was... how do I say this? For Blue Yellow Ace in particular, I'm going to say the more life control version, I think, is the way to go. The one that can do a lot of life manipulation, like life gain. I think that's the best one. I think that's in the middle of the pack. Whereas if I was rating the one that is more aggressive with the Goa package, that's probably a step under middle of the pack, closer towards, not as competitive. Okay, that's all the leaders right here. So we're going to go back over these in just a second, guys. This is OP13. We're going to talk about those in a minute. All right, so let's start. I'm only going to talk about these ones in the top two tiers up here under most competitive and the orange one right under that. I think if you're trying to be competitive right now in OP12 in the West, these are your top picks right here. If you're trying to play purple, you're stuck with green-purple Luffy. I know it's green-purple, quote-unquote, but it really is primarily a purple deck, if that makes sense. If you're trying to play a... So actually, let me get these in order. Let me get it... Because let me say it like this, guys. I don't know which one is the actual best deck in the format right now. I don't think anyone knows, right? We have to see what happens with testing. I'm just going to tell you guys what I would recommend for each color, okay? All right, so let me move this over to here and this to here. So red first. Let's go over that one more time, guys, going in color order this time. If you're trying to play red competitively right now in the West for OP12, for the more aggro players out there, I would recommend Rayleigh. Okay, Rayleigh is a great pick right now, and if you're trying to be more mid-range to controlling and, you know, more defensive, I'd go with Shanks. Moving over to green, same idea here. If you're trying to be more aggro, go with Zoro, and if you're trying to be more mid-range and defensive, go with Bonnie. If you're trying to play purple, you're basically stuck with green-purple Luffy right now. You could go back to purple Luffy, which I will push up a little bit on this list here. Purple Luffy is probably the next best purple leader out there if you're trying to stick to purely purple. Blue-purple Luffy might have something to do, or you might be able to use, you know, blue-purple Luffy in a way where it feels more purple, but I will say that one's a pretty decent mix, right? I think blue-purple Luffy really had a decent mixture of both blue and purple cards. Now, speaking of that, notice there's no blue list up here in most competitive, so if I had to push a card from this rank down here into most competitive that's also blue, it would probably be Buggy right now, guys. I think, especially now that Nami is pretty much gone, I would probably move Buggy into the most competitive category for blue. Now, so understand what that means, guys. I'm not saying that this is like the, how do I say this? I'm not saying these are the top tier decks, period. You know what I mean? Hopefully that made sense. But if for whatever color you're trying to play, these are probably your best chances with those colors. Hopefully that made more sense. And for blue, it's got to be Buggy right now, unless you want to argue that blue-black Sakazuki's blue. That's mainly a black deck, if we're being honest. And blue-purple Luffy is more of a, you know, a 50-50 split. You could build it more blue if you want to, but I think that's really just a 50-50 split. Okay, so we went over red, we went over green, blue, we just went over. Purple is mainly going to be green-purple Luffy right now because that deck is majority purple, but there's also purple Luffy you can run if you want to have a 5-life leader. Excuse me, or you could even go the blue-purple route with blue-purple Luffy. For black, I think the main way to go right now is Lucci. I think Lucci is still the premier removal black control deck in the game. I think Newgate. I think Blackbeard is just below that as far as power level goes. It just kind of hangs on. It just, you know, Blackbeard is always lingering to wait for a deck to pop off that goes off of on play effects, and he goes, okay, I'm just going to turn off your entire deck, and then it can just compete with the best of them if it finds the right matchups. So I think Blackbeard is probably somewhere in that category, but I'm going to keep him one step below what Lucci is, because I think Lucci is just better in general than Blackbeard right now. If you guys disagree, please say something in the comment section below, and please tell me why. But for now, I'm going to leave it like this. I think Lucci's like the premier black deck to run right now. Now for yellow, I think Enel is probably the best overall yellow deck right now. Enel has always been strong from the leader effect, and one of the biggest matchups that hurt Enel back in OP12 in the East was blue-purple Luffy. Well, if blue-purple Luffy starts to fall off, then all of a sudden Enel starts doing very well, right? It starts being able to succeed again. But I will say this, if you're trying to play a bit more, and let me rephrase with Enel there. Enel is probably the more control version of yellow you'd want to run, but if you want to play more of a mid-range, I'll say this, Eustace Kid is probably the way to go for you. Because yellow Eustace Kid is definitely no slouch, it's no joke, but Enel might be slightly better. I will say that up front here. Eustace Kid is very strong, especially in his own way, but Enel I feel like is... I've seen a lot of people playing Enel lately, guys, and it seems pretty scary again. It's getting there. It's a very strong leader effect. I have this at the top tier for yellow right now, and Eustace Kid is right there behind it. I still think it is in the most competitive category, because like I said, Enel's like more of the controlling deck for yellow right now, whereas Eustace Kid is more of the mid-range aggro deck. It's not really an aggro deck at all, but it's more aggressive than Enel is for yellow. And then we only have Buggy up here. Like I said, guys, Buggy is specifically only here because I wanted to have a deck for blue players to run right now. I think blue Buggy is the way to go right now. If you guys know of a better blue deck right now. Like, people might say Kuzan. Maybe I should move Kuzan up after seeing where blue buggy is. Like, just kind of, how do I say this? Blue is probably the weaker color in the game right now, if I'm being honest with you guys. Green feels like it's the strongest in the game right now. And then probably red, black, purple, yellow, and then blue. Like, blue feels like it might be the weakest color in the game right now, because the only thing that was really keeping it going or keeping it in the top conversation is, number one, the utility that blue has is insane. But as far as like a mono blue deck goes, you really just have buggy right now, because Blue Doflamingo fell off once it lost Jinbei and once power creep kind of pushed it out of the way. But then you have a few decks that are blue and another color, so unless you want to consider that, blue might be on the weaker side right now, and yellow might not be the weakest color in the game anymore, guys. It might be the second weakest. But I don't know. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comments section below. If I had to rate power level in this game based off color right now, green is probably number one, and then after that, I don't know. It's almost like a three-way tie between red, purple, and black. I think those are kind of where they are. And then, of course, after that, I've got yellow and blue. But that's just my thoughts on that. Okay, so that's pretty much it. Again, I will move Newgate down to this orange tier here. It probably should be in middle of the pack, because it's really just a few players that make this leader pop off. We are going to adjust that. All right, so let me adjust everything in the list real quick, guys, and put it closer in an order where I think they should be after seeing how everything's laid out. I really want to push Kuzan into this orange tier, but I don't think it's his time yet. Kobe as well. Kobe might be too. I'm going to put him at the end of orange, because it might not be his time just yet. We'll have to see what happens. Sakazuki, I like where he's at. Blue, purple, Luffy. Purple, Luffy. Green, yellow, Law. I think this deck is solid. Like I said, Blackbeard is still lingering around. Zoro's still fine, but there's other options now. I think people would rather run Rayleigh. Smoker, black and red-green Smoker, both of those are doing fine. Yellow Calgara's up there for yellow. Gecko Moria, I'm going to put it towards the end of the orange tier here, because especially considering PRB02, I think that new Gecko will actually help this card out quite a bit. Purple Black Luffy's just kind of hanging out. I mean, this is another one I'll put next to Purple Luffy. There's not really any specific order to these cards on this tier here. There's really not a specific order to any of these cards, guys. There's just the tiers they're in. Most of the stuff I'm trying to just keep close to their other color pairs, right? So Purple Black Luffy's fine if you're trying to run something purple. What else? We went to Red Green Smoker, Black and Red Green Smoker, Yellow Calgara, Red Blue Marco, I think is very solid right now. Red Yellow Bella Betty, I think falls off quite a bit because of Green Zoro and a few other matchups. Like I think even Rayleigh is pretty good into Bella Betty. I think, and if Blue Black Sakazuki, actually, hang on, the more I think about it, because Blue Black Sakazuki is a 4-life leader, I think Bella Betty will probably be able to sneak games from Sakazuki players. But at the same time, if Sakazuki sees a good enough pull, it could really hurt Bella Betty. I still think Bella Betty is somewhere in the top conversation, though, like just above most competitive. Blue Yellow Nami, I think I'll put this towards the end as well, next to these other three. Blue Purple Sanji, I'm actually going to move that down. Actually, I'm going to move the Green Blues Zanji up a bit. I'll put it right next to Green Yellow Law. It's like this green combo deck, pretty much, and it can cause a lot of damage very quickly. And okay, that's pretty much how I like this list right here. I think that's fine for the tier right below most competitive. Everything in the middle here, I'm just leaving where it is, guys. We're not going to really go through every one of these. Blue Yellow Ace, I'm hoping I can make this work a little bit better. Same thing with Purple Yellow Nico Robin. Those are some decks that I have on the, they're coming up soon. I'm going to be updating those as soon as I can. Let me say it like that. Okay, and then everything else is fine. Okay, so that's it, guys. We're about to go over OP13. This is my final. Let me move my camera down so everybody can see. This is kind of where I see everything for OP12 in the West. Most competitive here. It's not in a specific order. It's just in a color order, but those are probably the most competitive decks for each color individually. Right under that are the next most competitive decks, lining up there. And then after that in the middle, those are just kind of middle of the pack. But anything under this is, play at your own discretion kind of thing. Don't expect too much, but who knows? Maybe you can figure out a deck that no one's figured out yet for Red Purple Sugar or Nefeltari Vivi or Hody Jones or whatever, and show us all wrong and show us what the deck can really do. Okay, so there's that. All right, now, moving into OP13. First up, we're just going to go in order here. We got Red, Green, Luffy. Okay, I got to move these all the way up, guys. Y'all bear with me. We got a lot to go over here. Actually, you know what I could do? I wonder if hang on, guys. I'm going to erase these other, all right, hang on, guys. Let's see if we can do this on the fly like this. We're going to delete this row. Okay, and it dropped everything below where we had it. That's perfect. All right, so we're going to delete the bottom 2 rows. The bottom 2 rows are gone, and now we're just stuck with orange, red, and yellow. So tier, let's just call it S tier, A tier, B tier for now. Okay? I think red, green, Luffy goes straight into the very top of just below most competitive, and who knows, maybe even into most competitive. Red, green, Luffy is going to be a defensive juggernaut that just kind of curves out and gets Dawn back every turn to keep, you know, hand advantage. They won't have to counter out as much as long as they can use their leader effect. I think that's going to be somewhere in the A tier. You know, if the very top is S tier, then I think red, green, Luffy will probably be somewhere just under that in the A tier. Okay, then from there we get to red, blue, ace. I think red, blue, ace is actually going to be somewhere near red, green, Luffy, maybe even a little bit better than red, green, Luffy, because I think once this leader has been figured out, it's going to be more controlling, I think, with lots of card draw. It has defensive abilities built into the leader, just like Red, Green, Luffy has. It's a 6,000 power leader, and having access to the blue card pool means you're going to have access to some crazy utility, right? Card draw, removal, you name it. And then with it having access to red, just like Luffy does, it's going to have the same, like, aggressive potential there as well. Okay, so I do think red, blue, ace is probably going to be somewhere in that A tier, in this orange tier in this list. Okay, from there, red, purple, Roger. Red, purple, Roger is, I keep, you know, just hopping over each one as we go up. I do think out of all the red decks, I think this is going to be the second most powerful red deck to come out of OP13. I think one deck is going to be better than the others. I think red, purple, Roger may find its way into most competitive. We'll have to see. There's going to be diehard fans that play Roger religiously, and they're going to, I'm sure we're going to see plenty of wins on the leader because, guys, a lot of times representation is everything. And I'm going to say this. I think red, purple, Roger and a leader we're about to talk about are the best red decks in OP13. So I will put Roger in the more competitive area here. No, I don't think I am, guys. Y'all can yell at me in the comment section below if you want to, but I'm going to keep red, purple, Roger at the very top end of this orange tier here, just below most competitive. But this is just a prediction, guys. I would not be surprised if I saw red, purple, Roger in the most competitive category. Then we get to red, black, Sabo. I know, guys, like, where's the other red, black, Sabo? Look how close these pictures are. I've heard a lot of people talk about this. I don't even know where red, black, Sabo is anymore. I might have already deleted him. Actually, did I have him in, hang on, I had him in one of these other lists. Here it is. Look how close these pictures are, guys. That is crazy. Why did they do that to us? I don't know which one's which anymore. Hang on, it's this one. Okay, this one. Luckily, this one has 5 life. Okay, so red, black, Sabo, I think will be in the most competitive category going into OP13. I think red, black, Sabo, this is a 5 life leader, just like red, purple, Roger is. But red, purple, Roger, see, man, it's hard to say. I have to say this, guys. I do think red, purple, Roger might be on Sabo's tail. It's going to be very close. It's probably going to be matchup dependent, but I see red, black, Sabo as being probably one of the best decks to come out of OP13. I think it's just going to be really, really strong. In fact, the only deck that I think is going to be better is going to be this one right here. I think it's going to be Emu. I could see Emu. Hang on, it's not letting me adjust it. There we go. I could see Emu slipping into the most competitive category very easily. And I know some people say it might not. Who knows? We'll never know. We'll have to see what happens. You know, we won't know until we see it in action. But I do think that Emu, especially once people master it and once people see what the format looks like, they're going to be able to make enough adjustments to the deck to probably beat most other decks. But yeah, I do think that Emu is going to be very, very strong. And I think red, black, Sabo is going to be the second strongest deck in OP13. And then last but not least from OP13, we have Bonnie. I think Bonnie will be just around the same power level as these other 4 leaders on this category here. And I think they are going to be a step above most other decks we've seen. I think, like, how do I say this, guys? I think we're seeing a real power creep in OP13 like we have not seen before, where all of a sudden these leaders right here, and all of them on the very top of the orange tier, just under most competitive, all of these leaders are just powerful. They're all very strong, and just at a base level, like at a foundation level, I think they're just stronger than most of the other leaders you see on the screen right here. Just like inherently, they're just stronger because of their effects. But we'll have to see. You guys tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. I do think they will all be very good. And let me say this right now, we just don't have enough information yet, especially, guys, we're getting OP13 and the ban at the same time. Right, so Blue Purple Luffy got, you know, nerfed in the way it did. Blue Nami's gone. Oh, we will talk about Nami, guys. Let me bring Nami up here before I forget about it. I'm just going to put Nami up here for a second. With these, I just know I'm going to forget it, guys. Let me put it right here under Roger so I don't forget it. I think I would not be surprised if any of these OP13 leaders make its way into the most competitive category, or even if all these leaders just kind of take the place of someone in the most competitive category. For example, what's to say that Yellow Bonnie will not take the place of Yellow Eustace Kid in the most competitive category, especially for Yellow? Red Green Luffy, maybe that ends up taking the place of something like, I don't know, maybe it just finds its way into the most competitive. Who knows? I will say the Red Green Luffy, that's the one I don't see being the most competitive out of everything we've seen here, and I have it towards the lower end of the OP13 leaders power level, but that's not saying much when I have all of them in the second to highest tier or better, right? Red Blue Ace, I think, will be very strong. I don't know if a lot of people will play it. It comes down to like preference when it comes to some of these leaders and the color combos and whatnot. And I think red blue is not the most popular color combo. Not to say it's not strong, just that it's not the most popular color combo. But it kind of just takes the place of red blue Marco. They're very different. I understand that. But at the same time, they're both red blue and they're both white beard pirates type. And, you know, Ace is going to be the slightly... It's going to be the newer card to play with, the newer toy to play with. So I think most of your red blue Marco players might just hop over to red blue Ace. Again, not to say they're even anything alike. They're actually really not that much alike. But at the same time, I could see that happening. And I do think Ace is just a little bit stronger than Marco, right? I mean, you know, you have one less life than Marco, but you get 1,000 more power in the process, and then you get these two different effects. Both are very defensive effects, by the way, and then you're going to be able to curve out a little bit better in that way. Again, I think Red Blue Ace might just snatch up all the Marco players, but I'm sure people will still play Marco too because it is a very cool, interesting effect. But yeah. I'm kind of just rambling at this point, guys, because I don't really know where to put these. Like I was saying, the bans are hitting at the same time the East as them getting all these new, really powerful OP13 leaders. But I could see any of them doing very well right now. And that's why I have all of them in this orange tier or better. But if I had to guess, just judging by how their effects are and the limited amount of playtesting I've had with the cards and have seen, you know, just by other YouTubers from the East, content creators from the East, I think Red Black Sabo and Black Emu are probably the best leaders coming out of OP13. But again, I have to keep stressing this, guys. I would not be surprised at all if someone figures out something about Red Purple Roger and then that starts taking tournaments and so on and so forth. All right, I hope y'all enjoyed that, guys. I know a lot of content creators are starting to put out the tier list because we got the new bans and restrictions in play. We got the almost forgot Nami. Hang on, almost forgot Nami. I'm gonna put Nami as middle of the pack and pretend for this example here. I know this is OP03 Nami, not the new promo 117 Nami or whatever it is. Pretend this is the new promo Nami coming out. I think that will fall under middle of the pack. You guys know they're going to print more support for Nami going forward. It's not here yet, so maybe it should fall off, actually, the more I'm thinking about it. Maybe it should just fall off completely, but at the same time, I wouldn't be surprised if someone finds a way to make Nami work. There's enough players out there that want to play Nami to make it work, and it has a lot of potential. We've seen what Blue Nami can do, right? We've seen what it can do. Okay. We'll put it off the list for now, though, guys. I'm going to need the Nami players to show me how strong the deck still is, the new promo Nami. Or tell me, guys. Tell me in the comment section below. Is it going to be unplayable until more support comes out? That might be the case. Okay, now, just to summarize, guys, here we go. This is it. This is the final tier list. It's in no particular order. Just tiers is the main order here. I think the most competitive decks we're going to see from OP12 in the West go all the way to Buggy here for each color, okay? Then going into OP13, of course, Red, Black, Sabo, and Emu, I think, enter the mix. And who knows, maybe some of these other OP13 leaders as well. We'll have to see what happens. Then everything other than that, guys, is kind of in whatever order you want. These are on the more competitive side of things. If you just like to have fun, of course, play what you want to, guys. As always, I mean, as usual, guys, you should always just play with what's fun to you, okay? Whatever your favorite leader is, if your leader did not make it into my top cut, you know, for what I think are the best decks in the game right now or the best leaders in the game right now, you should still play it. Like, that doesn't mean anything. Just have fun with it, guys. Anyone who's followed this channel for long enough knows I really, really enjoy, where's Black, Yellow, Linlin? I really enjoy this leader, Black, Yellow, Linlin. I really enjoy a lot of the leaders down here. And hey, for all the Blue Nami players out there, I hear you. You lost blue Nami. Guys, I lost blue-black Sakazuki when that happened, and then I lost red-purple Law. I loved both of those leaders. Those leaders were so much fun to me. So, you know, take a deep breath. More stuff's going to come out in the future. Hopefully more stuff that's interesting to you. Because I've heard a lot of Nami players are really upset about the whole Nami ban. Understandable. Understandable. Okay, that's it, guys. Hope y'all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Let's please be nice. Please be nice. I did things a little bit differently this time, right? I didn't just say these are the best decks in the format, period. I tried to make it where these are the best decks in the format for each color. So that way, any of the players out there like, oh, I'm a red player. What should I play? Look at the most competitive up here. That's what you should play. If you're playing in the West or the East, let me say this, guys. If you're playing in the East, you get to play with all the cool new toys. You get to play with all the cool new leaders. And I think all of those are competitive viable. I'm not going to lie, guys. I think all of the new OP13 leaders are competitive viable. But yeah, hopefully this list helped out. Tell me what y'all think in the comment section below. Are any of these leaders way too high or way too low? Tell me about it down there, guys. I love to read the comments on videos like this to see what people are saying, because you could change my mind. Nothing I said up here is just set in stone. I could be argued in one way or another, like, hey, I think Purple Luffy should be in most competitive, or oh, hey, I think Yakamori is not that high up in the list, or whatever it might be. I always consider what you guys say down there. All right, I'm done. Hope you all enjoyed. Please don't forget to like and subscribe. Let me get the outro page on here real quick. Got to fix the camera. There we go. All right, guys. Hey, if you are liking, subscribing, sharing, commenting, viewing my stuff, if you're using my TCG Player affiliate link, if you're supporting me through donations on Patreon or PayPal, if you're a Playmat supporter, a YouTube member, or part of the Discord community, thank you guys so much. I really appreciate each and every one of you. And yeah, if you're helping out the community in any way, thank you guys for that. I really appreciate it. This is a great community. All right, I'm done. Hope you enjoyed. Until next time. Peace.